Judge Arleo offered to perform the ceremony. He put her off. She offered again, and again, and again. She even offered to buy a cake. None of that is surprising if you know Judge Arleo. Finally, they set a date, and one Tuesday evening, not so very long ago, in courtroom 2A, when we heard Mr. Shabazz and his wife recite the vows that they had written in front of Judge Arleo and the other members of the Reentry Court, we learned that Mr. Shabazz is not only good at math, but he's kind of a poet as well. Today, you will hear other stories from Judge Arleo, from Tom Eicher, the chief of my office's criminal division, and perhaps from Mr. Terrell and Mr. Shabazz and Mr. Wilson, all of whom I think planned to be here today. You will hear about their successes and their failures, their excitement and their despair. You will learn that as much work as the reentry team does to find job opportunities, housing, furniture, and even schools and daycare for their children, it is the participants themselves who direct and control their experience. It is our job, it is our responsibility to give them the opportunity to do just that. And it's not just for them. As long as 1 in 28 American children and 1 in 9 African American children go to bed each night with an incarcerated parent, as long as our kids are continuing the cycle of generational crime by embarking on lifetimes of involvement with the justice system, our work is not done. I and the people who work with me in the U.S. Attorney's Office understand that we will only succeed if we take a multifaceted approach to law enforcement. As I have said, and as the Attorney General said on many occasions, we will never arrest our way out of the crime problem. We understand the need to be smart on crime. Only by emphasizing prevention and reentry together with enforcement do we have a chance to make a real and lasting impact on the problems of violence that plague our communities. On Monday night, like Mayor Fulop, I sat at my family's Seder and reflected on the ideas of redemption, of spiritual reawakening, of the rebirth that comes with spring, all the themes of Passover. This Sunday, Christians will celebrate Easter, a holiday that celebrates many of the same ideas and the same hopes, and our collective ability to stretch beyond our limitations and to change ourselves for the better. But no matter our religion, no matter where we come from, no matter what we think or what we believe, I and the people who work with me on the Renew Court understand that promise, and we see it every day. We are a group that believes in second chances. Redemption is about the triumph of hope over despair, the belief that we all have the ability for and the potential for change, and maybe to even do it dramatically when the road is hard. And if it takes someone, sometimes a federal judge or sometimes somebody else, to ask the question, to look us in the eye, and to say, what do you need? Thank you all very much for coming.
So could I please ask all those from panel one, please to join on the table, thank you. Great, thanks, Barb. Why don't you come over here?
Further down?
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead, right here, Barb. Gene. Yep, right here. Okay, and I'll just move this. So, ladies and gentlemen, for the first panel, I'd like to call upon my dear friend Joseph Hayden. And today's conference would not have been possible without Joe Hayden, who was instrumental in the planning and the design. And I just want to express my appreciation to Joe. And at this time, not only a great criminal defense attorney, but somebody who's helped us so immeasurably in our reentry program. He's serving as MC as this of this particular panel, and you're hearing from the voices of people who have come back into reentry. Joe Hayden. Joseph?
Hi, my name's Joe Hayden. I live in Hoboken. I'm from Hudson County. I've had the privilege.
Somebody clap for Hudson County. What's going on here?
I have had the privilege of practicing law in this state for 45 years. During the 45 years, I've attended over 100 panels or conferences. This panel is by far the most important, the most meaningful conference I have ever attended. Because as Mayor Fulop has written in another context, what we're dealing with here is beyond a moral issue. It is a practical issue. How will our society function? It's a problem that we cannot run away from. We cannot hide from. As a matter of fact, it has been written by scholars that a society is only as civilized as is the quality of its prisons. And the quality of the prisons is really defined by the opportunities afforded for reentry. So let's get to work. What we have here are a number of individuals, all of whom have been in incarceration and have made it back to the other side. Their stories are different, but the struggle continues. And as the mayor and as U.S. Attorney Fishman has said, it's about redemption, but what we all want to appreciate and have our consciousness raised to is how hard it is and how many obstacles there are, physically, economically, spiritually, to go about to reentry. And I'd like our first speaker, and it may be just as easy if you come up to the microphone. Oh, just stay there? Okay. All right, I guess we got a backseat driver here. and our first speaker is a gentleman by the name of Jason Scala. Jason lives in Hoboken. He has a business in Hoboken, but he does not forget where he came. And he reaches back and helps people in recovery. And he, with his business, employs people in recovery and employs ex-offenders because he believes in a second chance. Jason Scala.
Thank you, Joe. Good morning. Can you hear me? No.
Just go ahead and speak loud.
Okay. I could do that. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What a privilege and an honor it is to be here today. Looking around, I don't think I've ever been in a room with this many law enforcement without wearing handcuffs. My addiction has influenced most of my life. And as a result, I've spent over 7 years in prison, jails, and institutions. I'm grateful for every institution I've ever landed in. They've truly saved my life. About 3 years ago, I was rescued once more and landed in Hudson Correction Facility. Eager to want to rebuild my life and start over, I did not know how. I was fortunate enough to run into a counselor on the drug tier there. And he asked me to put a slip in and said, write on it that you need help. And I believe the strongest act of courage anyone could ever do is to ask for help. And that's when my recovery had began. And I did everything asked of me, and I had the privilege to stay there 6 months. Upon my release, now it's just not only being released from jail when that happens, it's the wreckage you leave before you get there that you have to face. It's not only not being able to fill out a job application, not having any source of income, but the stigma of being a junkie, of being an ex-con, of stealing from your loved ones and the community. I mean, it goes much further than just needing a second chance. How do other people get over it? The closest ones in your life will not be able to get over it right away. And I believe my recovery started in that jail, but once I left, I found the only place I can turn to is the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. Once getting there, though, I mean, I returned to a home. My wife was in financial ruin from my addiction. There was a plumbing leak. Our bed got ruined. We could not afford a new one. She was sleeping on a love seat with 2 dogs while I slept on the floor next to her. I'm happy to say we have a fabulous bed, and the dogs have never been happier. But the struggles, nobody would hire me. Imagine starting over with addiction has taken away any college degree I could have been able to achieve, any ability to apply for a city job, or even Home Depot. As I said, I think I have somewhat of 9 felonies. I'm not quite sure. So where do you start? I work for free. I let people know how hard I was willing to work and to show up and to display my skill set that I had. I was fortunate enough to be born with certain talents and certain influences that did show me how to work. Little by little, showing up every day and doing the right thing, life has started to take a different turn. 3 years later, I have now become an employer, which I employ 10 people in the community on a consistent basis. I think my company in the last 2 years has completed 230 jobs. I'm a contractor in downtown Jersey City. I'm a continuing active member in Narcotics Anonymous. I also work with a lot of men from the Salvation Army. I have an overwhelming amount of gratitude for people that helped me. I have a Salvation Army about 4 blocks away from me where guys get entered in. And just as that example was set for me, I feel that I need to set that example for them. And I know you guys are here for certain programs, and a lot of this is still not reaching many people. Guys get sentenced to this program, and they have no financial means. I think they get about $7 a week.